She called 911 and screamed at the top of her lungs, "Get him out of here! He's trespassing on private land." I stood on my porch, gripping the old railing of my cabin, watching her wave her arms like she was running the whole valley. The dispatcher on speaker could probably hear her rage clear as day. Neighbors peeked from their blinds, and Karen's voice cut through the silence like sirens. "He broke in. He's squatting! Arrest him now!" she shrieked, pointing at me as if I was some kind of criminal. I didn't move. My boots stayed planted on those wooden steps because this wasn't her land. It was mine. Still, her fake confidence almost made me laugh. She marched across the gravel, holding up a piece of paper she printed at home. "This is an official HOA notice. You're being evicted immediately." The bold letters were crooked. The seal was blurry. But she shoved it in my face like it was gospel. "You have 5 minutes to leave before the sheriff arrives." I leaned against the porch post, calm as a Sunday morning, but inside I felt the burn. This woman didn't know who she was messing with. The worst part wasn't the fake notice. It was the way she talked loud. Enough for my daughter inside to hear. My little girl pressed her face to the window, her eyes wide, scared that cops were about to drag her daddy away. That broke me more than her screaming ever could. Then Karen added the poison. "I already told the police you threatened me with a gun," she shouted, smirking as if she'd won the war before it even started. My stomach tightened. That was a felony accusation, and if the wrong cop believed her words before seeing the truth, I'd be cuffed in seconds. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then I whispered to myself, she has no idea. Because what she didn't know was that every inch of this valley, every tree, every stream, every broken fence post she stomped past was mine by federal deed. And I had the papers to prove it, signed years ago, when people like her didn't even know this valley existed. The sound of tires grinding on gravel echoed down the road, and Karen's smug grin widened. "There they are," she whispered like she had summoned an army. A white SUV with flashing lights pulled up, 2 men in cheap uniforms stepping out. Their badges were shiny, but too shiny, like they came from a costume store. My jaw clenched. Fake cops. She really went that far. Karen ran toward them, pointing at me like I was public enemy number 1. "That's him! Arrest him! He's squatting on community property. He threatened me and my family." Her voice cracked with fake tears, and one of the men nodded, already reaching for his cuffs. I didn't flinch. My daughter's little hand pressed against the cabin window behind me, her voice trembling. "Daddy?" I raised my hand for her to stay inside, my heart pounding but my face steady. One of the fake officers barked, "Step down from the porch, sir." Hands where we can see them. His words were shaky, his belt hanging too loose, and his shoes. Not even regulation. Karen was too blind with rage to notice the flaws, but I did. And here's the twist. So did the real sheriff, who just then pulled up behind them with his squad car lights flashing. Karen's smile froze as the actual sheriff stepped out, hand on his holster. "What's going on here?" His eyes scanned the scene, landing on the 2 imposters. His jaw tightened. "And who the hell are you supposed to be?" Karen tried to jump in before they could answer. Finally, "Sheriff, arrest him. He's trespassing on HOA land." She shoved the crumpled notice at him like it was evidence. The sheriff took one glance at the fake seal and then turned his eyes on me. I gave a slow nod, calm as ever. "Sheriff," I said evenly, "this valley isn't hers. It's mine, and I've got the federal deed to prove it. Would you like to see it?" Karen's face went pale. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The sheriff narrowed his eyes, taking the paper from Karen's hand. He held it up to the sunlight, then let out a short laugh. "Lady, this isn't even a legal document. You typed this up on a home printer." His tone shifted sharp. "And you called in a false report about a firearm? Do you have any idea how serious that is?" Karen's lips trembled, but before she could spin another lie, the real sheriff turned toward the fake cops. "IDs now." His voice carried authority that made the imposters shuffle nervously. One of them muttered something about private security. But the sheriff wasn't buying it. In one swift move, he yanked the badge from the man's chest and tossed it to the ground. "Impersonating an officer. That's a felony." My daughter opened the door, stepping onto the porch, her little voice breaking the tension. "Daddy, are they going to take you away?" My chest tightened, but I crouched down, smiled at her, and shook my head. "No, sweetheart. Nobody's taking us away from our home," Karen snapped, pointing wildly. "This is community land. The HOA controls it all." "He's lying!" She was screaming so loud her voice cracked like glass. Neighbors had gathered now, recording everything on their phones. Every word she shouted was getting caught on camera. I pulled a folded packet from inside my jacket, papers thick and sealed with a federal stamp. You keep saying HOA, Karen, I said, my voice steady but sharp. But this land doesn't even fall under your HOA. It never did. In fact, I handed the papers to the sheriff. I own the entire valley, signed over 20 years ago. Every acre. The sheriff scanned the deed, nodded, then lifted his head toward Karen. His face was stone cold. Looks like the only trespasser here is you. Karen staggered back like she'd been slapped. Her fake cops already in cuffs. Her lies unraveling in front of half the neighborhood. But what she didn't know yet was that I had one more card to play. Karen's face twisted red, her voice shrill. No, this can't be right. He doesn't belong here. He's lying. She lunged toward the sheriff, trying to snatch the deed from his hands. But he stepped back, his patience running thin. The neighbors gasped, phones raised higher, capturing every second. I stayed calm, almost too calm, because the truth was I'd been ready for this day. For months she had harassed me with fake notices, bogus fines, even threats to take my cabin down. So I set up cameras all around the valley, every inch of her trespassing, every word she screamed at me, all recorded in crystal clear detail. Sheriff, I said, my voice carrying across the crowd. Maybe you should see the footage too. I pulled out my phone and tapped play. The screen lit up with Karen's face from a week ago, screaming at my daughter through the window, threatening to tow my truck. Then another clip, Karen bragging to her fake officers that she'd make him crack with one more false report. The sheriff watched for less than a minute before shaking his head. That's enough, he said firmly. He turned to Karen. You're under arrest for filing a false report, trespassing, and conspiracy to impersonate law enforcement. The cuffs clicked around her wrists as she shrieked. You can't do this to me. I am the HOA. The crowd broke into murmurs, some neighbors even clapping. My daughter ran into my arms, her little hands gripping my neck tight. I whispered to her, See? Daddy told you, nobody's taking us away. As the sheriff's car door slammed on Karen screaming, I looked out across the valley. The sun was dropping low, painting the land gold. My land, my family's safe ground. I raised my voice just enough for everyone to hear. Words that burned straight from my chest. I didn't fight for this country just to be told I can't live on my own land. Not by her, not by anyone. And in that moment, the entire valley was silent, except for the sound of justice finally closing in on Karen.